Can I just ask you're discussing the 2020 operation, and this is a consignment that is bonded. It is in the, so it's away from the other commercial activity that happens. Let's put a different scenario. There's no SARS detention involved, and so these goods are not in the same corner as we see in these pictures or the same working space, but it's in fact goods that are in a container lined up. We're still at CHC, lined up in the way that you describe. I think you described that there are other containers there. What constraints, if any, would there be to conducting the kind of checks that you're speaking about? You have a crime scene, what you're describing with Ms. Siegels. What would be the constraints that would make it difficult to work from there as a crime scene? And assuming the weather is not an issue.
Commissioner, the main constraint would be occupational health and safety for the members doing the crime scene and access by all relevant role players. So you don't want to box yourself in. You want to be able to work freely, members in, members out. In my case, I had members that were sick. I needed an ambulance in, ambulance out. I've worked depots for years. They will bend over backwards to help you. I've worked a scene at Grindrod. We were there for literally from the morning until the next morning. They send people, they sit with you. So what usually happens is, if the scene becomes complicated, if I can use that word, Commissioner, sometimes they will even give you an empty container and stack it next to you. So because remember now, I don't want to be digressed, but what about the balance of the container? I'm seeing what's in front of me, which is the narcotics, but what about the rest of the substance behind it? What's happening to that? Once I've found something in the container, I must assume the rest of the container is tainted. So how do you deal with it? It's called an unpack. Unpack and visual inspection. So what usually happens is that must come out and go somewhere. But because it hasn't gone into the warehouse, it goes into the container next to it. And that's a nice way that you can get a hands-on look at it, probe it, open it, stuff like that. So the constraints are, you need to have a relationship with the warehouse before you start. Once you've got that, you must be prepared to work, because everything should be able to be done there. If it rains, you're under roof. They just push the container forward. There's a machine that moves it for you. If you want to unpack into another container, they give you another container. They've got empty containers. We don't. The police does not have that. We don't have the machines to move them, the trucks, nothing. So the only constraint you would have technically is consumables on the scene, your crime scene consumables, your forensic test kits, your forensic exhibit bags, etc. That would be your constraints.
In that case, you would unpack the container.
Correct.
Because you really don't know whether what you're seeing in front of you is all there is.
Commissioner, with your leave, I've been asked about another matter in regards to a ton of cocaine that I seized. My notes will show you that nicely, how we do that. And leading up to that, the process of identifying the container from start to finish. So maybe that will answer your question again, but if you want me to answer it now, I can. No,
I'm happy to leave it to when you discuss it with Ms. Ncube. Maybe let me ask my second question related to this, that we've had evidence, for example, on another scene where the reason for removing the goods, the illicit goods, narcotics, to a different site is that, well, there was a lot of traffic, people moving, employees of the depot. I ask my question in that context to try and understand practically, how does this become a problem? There's no means of cordoning off an area and preventing other people who are not part of the crime scene management to isolate them from that scene so that you do what you need to do on the scene? I'm trying to understand that practically.
Commissioner, it's a good question. And maybe I'm going to get a few bruises from my colleagues afterwards, but the people that bother you on the scene are policemen. That shouldn't be on the scene. That's who contaminates your scene. So if I tell you I've got a cordon tape, the stevedores and the warehouses, they will accommodate my request. They allow that scene to stay there and they will assist that it stays like that. They're not interested in coming in the crime scene. It's the policemen that want to come in and see, and the media that comes with them, and they want to take a video and look and touch. That's what contaminates your crime scene. So if you ask me, can you lock down a crime scene at a warehouse? My answer, Commissioner, is yes. How long can you do it for? As long as you want to. I've proven that my longest is 2.5 days.
Thank you, Randev.
Isn't the short answer that once you identify an area as a crime scene, whatever commercial activity was happening there becomes secondary? So people who are doing business there are no longer allowed to go to the scene. It is your scene. You are entitled to cordon it off for the purposes of conducting investigation. So it cannot be an answer to say, but we are running a business here.
Commissioner, you're correct. And I think it's been mentioned. I saw a statement where they said that the people from the harbour were there. The people from the harbour are there every single day. They are stationed there to conduct those searches. It's part of natural business to be searched by SARS and the police, if that makes sense to the Commission.
And under what circumstances would safety of be an issue? Safety of checking of managing a crime scene there and checking the exhibits, and I'm talking about the CHC in particular. What is it about the geography of that place that you would say would justify in some cases concerns about safety?
I have to think carefully how to answer this, Commissioner. Commissioner, are we safe here? That's why no, Commissioner, your question is valid, but the question remains is, are we safe here? If someone wants to come here and do what they want to do here, they will do it. Do I have knowledge of that? That's the question. The answer is no. Do I know who's coming to do it? The answer is no. So what steps must I take to prevent that from happening? I need to be aware, I need to be cautious, I need to make sure I've got my weapon. Must I have other guys on guard? Yes. Must I have a cordon up? Yes, because then I can see if someone crosses the cordon, I know that man is coming to make trouble. Deal with him. Does that answer it? For you, you've got security at the front door, you've got security when you scan.
Don't say too much.
No. I agreed, Commissioner, my apologies. What I'm saying is you've got an operational plan for a threat assessment. We have to do it the other way around. So it's in reverse. Now I'm here inside, I must protect myself going out. So the question that I would ask is, the Commission's asking me, was it safe there? In my scenario, I will say I was safe. I took the steps to make sure my scene was safe.
Let me ask this, and in fairness, I have to ask the question in fairness to those that have managed this crime scene differently. In your experience, with the kind of experience that you've had over the years, but in particular at a depot such as CHC, have you had instances where that there were threats of harm or in fact interference with what you were doing as you're managing the scene? And I'm not asking about your colleagues who are walking onto a scene, but the owners of the drugs potentially. Have you had scenarios or situations where as you're managing that particular scene at CHC, you might have thought, maybe it's not safe. There are indications that there are people who are looking at what we are doing, have bad intentions, let's move on. Have you had that kind of experience?
Commissioner, you asked, I will say, 4 scenarios there. You asked, has anyone ever micromanaged your scene? I will say yes. Have I ever felt unsafe at the scene? I will say no. If I can, Commissioner.
Safe as in, not so much you personally, but the scene itself being disrupted. You've never had that kind, and no cause to be concerned about that.
There's a list here with a statement within general. I didn't know it was here, but here it is. Those are my scenes. They're not missing. They're safe.
Okay.
I transported those exhibits myself, all with colleagues across the country to places unbeknownst to a lot of people here. They're safe.
Okay.
We were never attacked. We were never assaulted. We were never diverted from our route.
Yeah.
We were safe.
So you're able to say, are you, that, and to say it unequivocally, that CHC, it's geography, it's set up there, and what happens when the police run an operation there of a seizure, it doesn't pose any fears of risk or an attack that you can think of?
That's correct, Commissioner.
Okay. Thank you.
Counterfeit. I'm not going to mention the suspect's name, so I can say the commodities. It was skin lightening creams, it was hair products, it was counterfeit sunglasses. There was a whole lot of illicit and counterfeit. There was an ongoing investigation with these people bringing in different containers full with illicit goods, from clothing to medication. And in this case, Customs had obviously done an inspection on the goods that had been unpacked from the container prior and discovered that one of the boxes contained suspected Mandrax tablets. So now, because they found it, they become the custodian, because it's in a customs area, or as they say, a customs space, if that's the right word. So technically speaking, the scene and the exhibits belong to Customs. The reason being is, in South African economy and law, it's a criminal case, but it's also a SARS case. If SARS is going to charge that man in terms of the Customs Act, we won't see that. They will deal with him for all his illicit goods and his counterfeit goods, but we won't see that. That's the taxman. The taxman does his own thing. But the point is, the scene gets handed over to me by Customs. So there's a handing over certificate. But because it came from a container, SARS goes further with their investigations, and then they profile which group of containers are coming in on the vessel or part of that, and they detain all of those containers for inspection. So there's now an enforcement process that begins. So because we have this relationship now, then we do a dual inspection of the other containers, hoping to find more illicit goods.
Can I take you to page 223 of that same bundle, that 223, 223 of the same exhibit bundle that we've been dealing with?
I have it, Commissioner.
It's the detention of goods. Do you have it?
I have it.
So there's one on 223 and another on 225. And it has different container numbers.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so these would have been the detention are dated to 23 January 2020. So this is before you go to CHC. So they would have, as Customs would have, or SARS would have asked for these containers to be detained. Are these containers by the same shipper?
That is correct, Commissioner. So as you can see here, it's 2 different vessels, and it's highly likely that they would have used a different port to load some of their equipment, or they could have made the mistake, when I'm saying they, the suspects, because this is how we profile them. That's exactly how we do it. So what they do is they split the vessel. It comes in on 2 different routes, possibly Pier 1 and Pier 2. And then customs now obviously picked up, here's an irregularity with these people, or they've got a history. I don't know, from my side, we have to rely on our databases to see if there's a history with the importer, the shipper, or transgressions. Customs has that. I know they do have that. So that helps them with their profiling.
And then on page 218,
218. Yes, Commissioner?
that's the handover form that you're referring to.
Correct. I reported earlier that it was the narcotics section that called me. The person on the narcotics section's name is here, and he hands the scene over to myself.
So the person on the top, that would have been from SARS, and you are the
No, that's
person...
incorrect. That's incorrect. That's 281. Must be
218. Yeah, 218. But the one that you have, 218, in front of you, we're looking at the right one.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, okay. It's the handover form.
It's the SARS handover form. It's got the KZN DDU 32200.
Yes, it's the correct one now. So the top is the team handing over to
Correct.
you receiving it. Okay, and that authorizes you now to conduct your side of the.
Correct, Commissioner.
So you indicated that it was on the 5th of February. What are you doing on the 6th of February as well? Were you at the scene?
This is the scene where we found the wine that tested positive. So the SARS, that was in their custody. So to be released to me, they handed it back over to me.
Okay.
Because I wasn't happy that the wine was wine. I suspected it to be a substance containing methamphetamine.
And it was?
It was not in the end.
Okay.
But the initial test with the dog and the presumptive test gave us a false positive.
And is that why you called FSL?
That is correct, Commissioner.
But ordinarily FSL would not have come to the scene because it's not a clan lab.
Correct, Commissioner. But when we have strange chemicals and stuff and we understand the working procedure amongst ourselves, we work together.
So if somebody is conducting a seizure operation at a CHC depot or depot similar to that and doesn't call LCRC but calls FSL, is that the correct procedure? And would FSL be entitled not to refuse to come out?
Maybe I must just explain how I know the thing. So the 2 laboratories do 2 totally different things, but they do overlap so that they index each other correctly. For a recovery, how I am shown and taught, a standard recovery we call out LCRC, not FSL. If it is chemicals and items that I do not know and I need guidance with, I will tell them such. Then they will attend. Or they will give me telephonic advice, process your scene like this, do this, we'll work with you. And we do. I've got a relationship with them. When FSL attends a scene, they also take photographs because they must also compile a 212 album. And it's pretty meticulously done. And what they'll usually do is they will use the same reference points. So A's are A's, B's are B's, 1's are 1's, 2's are 2's, if I can say that to the Commission. So we all know that it's room A, room 2, etc. So those 2 albums, if you put them in court, they would corroborate each other. And the Commissioner asked me earlier, why would I use a photo album? That's why. So those 2 albums then talk to each other. So that's why they also take photos on the scene. So if you ask me, the correct procedure is you can call either one first, it's up to you, but preferably LCRC.
Okay. So once you get to the scene, you have the exhibit bags ready, and if you don't have, then you would call for exhibit bags. You would make arrangements to get exhibit bags.
Correct.
Okay. In this instance, in your instance, what did you do with the 2020 bust?
If I'm correct in this one, I had some exhibit bags, and then after, I think we might have run short on the big ones, we had arranged, a facility, members had gone to pick us up at SAPS Sydenham.
Sorry, SAPS Sydenham.
Sydenham.
Okay. And what is the correct procedure insofar as when the exhibits must be placed in the bags? Is it at the scene or can it be done elsewhere?
Oh, hot seat. At the scene.
And if it's not, could it be done elsewhere if the scene is not, for whatever reason, conducive to do so?
There would have to be a reason why you're moving it.
What would be a reason that you can think of that would be a reason?
From CHC?
Yes, CHC specifically.
No reason.
You say?
I don't think there could be a reason.
Could it potentially be that from a safety point of view, you want to make sure that you don't let people know that you've just uncovered 500 kgs of cocaine, for example, or in your case, mandrax?
Commissioner, at that time, the biggest drug used in Umlazi, I think, was mandrax. So I think mandrax would have been pretty much a threat as well.
Yes.
So that thought didn't cross my mind. It's safe there.
When you say it's safe there, just elaborate on that.
Commissioner, before you can get in, there's security at the front. There's a gate that you have to go through. They check you in. You have to drive nearly 300 meters before you can even get to the container stack. I had Metro there. I had SAPs there. We're all armed. I believe we were safe.
And disruption of commerce while you're busy processing, how long would it take to process the scene?
I was there from the morning until 5 in the afternoon, the evening.
In yours, in the February 2020?
Yes.